If you are scrolling social media and you feel like all of the content is sounding exactly the same, you're not wrong. Now that AI and LLMs are becoming more and more popular, a lot of the content that's out there is starting to look more and more the same. So, how do you actually stand out and write copy that's going to work really, really well in this age of AI? Let's talk about it. It's funny because once you start noticing these patterns, it's really hard to unsee them. And as somebody who uses ChatGPT quite a bit in my brainstorming capacities, it's funny to see a lot of the stuff that I would cut out but makes it onto social media. I think one of the ones that has gotten super popular is saying no fluff, right? Like this got popularized, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, but now it's like prompted by AI really frequently. But my question is, what does no fluff actually mean, right? Like, what are you actually promising to your customer when you say no fluff? Because that's something that so many people promise, but I don't understand as a consumer what that actually means, right? Like it could mean a lot of things. It could mean like, hey, you don't have a lot of extra time, and so no fluff means you're going to get like a short private podcast every day. Maybe no fluff means that, hey, you're only going to get the stuff that's relevant to your business. Maybe no fluff means, hey, only peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, no fluff. My point is that if everybody is saying the same words, like no fluff, then they actually lose their meaning. ChatGPT and other AI models are really good at this, where they say a lot of words without actually saying something. Like there's no message behind those words. I see it too. Like every time I see the word chaos now, I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like fine to use ChatGPT. Like it's a really good tool, but like what you want to do is use it in a way you are still going to be able to stand out, right? Like you're still going to have your differentiator compared to other people who do what you do. And AI doesn't have the ability to critically think. And so it's not going to give you a perspective, right? Like I tell people all the time, AI is a yes man. They are going to agree with you no matter what. And so really thinking about like, how can you differentiate yourself? How can you add yourself into it? Other things that I see all the time are like shouting into the void, curious what other people think. And it's like, these are natural things that we say in conversation, but when you start repeating them over and over and over again, that's where it starts to sound less human, right? You're starting to sound like the void. And I think the other thing too that's really interesting is when I first learned to write copy, like one of the strategies when you're thinking about voice and cadence is to vary your sentence length. So you might do like a longer sentence and then do like some bullet points and then do a longer sentence again so that you're keeping it interesting for the reader. And so also that people who are not reading fully in depth can skim. But when you're using ChatGPT, it kind of takes it to an extreme and it makes all of your sentences really short and really bulleted, and it drives me crazy because I'm like, can we just have a regular sentence, please? I think the last one that I'll say right now is chaos. Not chaos, but clarity. And it's like, yes, nobody wants chaos, right? Like I can envision chaos as being like, there's 6 little kids running around my living room and a vase just broke and my cats are hiding under the bed and everybody feels super on edge and chaotic, right? Like giving a visual to what chaos is going to go much, much further than saying, hey, something is chaotic. And so that's really where like that specificity is going to take your copy much further than just saying like, hey, you don't want chaos, you want clarity. Like, okay, but what does that actually look like? You don't want to skip your morning breakfast every day because you have to jump right into emails because you're super overwhelmed. What if you actually had time for a morning routine and lunch and clock out at 5 p.m.? This is how this offer helps, right? And so breaking it down with clear and specific visuals, that is going to be huge. And so when you're thinking about your copy, if you're reading something that you wrote, really asking yourself, could somebody else post this and would it still work for them, right? So if somebody else who does what you do, could they post it would it make sense? And so really thinking about, are you orienting your people? Are you showing like what your approach is? Like why you? Are you clearly talking about the outcomes they get from your offer? Are you talking about the problem that it solves? And, a lot of people are saying pain points are out, which yes, you don't want to make people feel bad, but you have to acknowledge the problem that people are having, and you have to acknowledge that you understand where they are now and where they want to go, and show how your offer is going to get them from point A to point B. So it's not about like sounding good, right? It's about clearly communicating what you do for your people. And if you are exclusively using AI tools, it's going to be really hard to do that. So copy that is going to be really effective is specific. I would challenge yourself to read through something and make it even more specific. Like the examples that I gave, you want to be so specific that the person reading it sees themselves in your story, in the story that you're telling. You want them to be like, okay, they understand, right? Like they understand where I'm coming from. They understand where I want to go. And that's how specific you want to be to really hone in on your ideal client. I think too, what happens is if you aren't sure who your ideal client is, then you're getting more vague because you want to apply to more people. And that's a sticky trap that you can fall into. So really getting clear on who you're talking to and then being super specific about how this is going to help them. And when I say specific, I don't mean like, hey, you're going to have a 60-minute call every Tuesday to, whatever. It's more focused on where they are and where they're going and what they actually want. Like, what are the outcomes? What's the transformation? And so the other piece that is going to make your copy much more effective is really thinking about your lived experience and how that impacts your work, right? Say you're a designer, you're not just talking about things that you can learn off of Google. You're talking about like what you've learned doing your work for X number of years, what you've done for your clients, the transformation that you've done for your clients, right? It can feel a little bit scary to be super specific in your copy, but every time that you are specific, you're being more clear. And clear copy is always 100% of the time going to convert better than super vague copy. So it's not, like I said in the previous episodes of this series, it's not about the specific words that you're using. I know I talked about chaos and no fluff and the patterns that you kind of see. You can still use those, as long as you're not using them all of the time, because I think that will break the trust of your people if you are always kind of using very generic, vague words. But really thinking about what do I want somebody to understand, right, after reading it? Or what is the outcome that I want? And then thinking about how can you be more clear, right? Are there places where you can replace a vague sentence with an actual visual, with maybe there's a short little snippet of a story that shows what you do and how you help people instead of telling people. So if you are feeling like your copy isn't doing the work that you want it to, it doesn't mean that you need to show up more. It doesn't mean that you need to, buy a trendy hooks guide. It doesn't mean that you need to pump out as much content as possible and use AI to get there. It probably just means that you need some clarity in your message, right? Adding some specificity to your copy is going to hook people's attention much more than just showing up all of the time. And that's why brand messaging is so important, right? Because it's not about sounding good. It's really about focusing on your approach, your experience, and how you can provide those specific examples for your people so that they can see themselves in your copy. As you are writing, don't forget the you-ness factor. Good copy isn't just about writing things that sound good, right? It's about differentiating you as the obvious choice for your ideal clients. That's only something that you can do with your lived experience, with your approach, and that's what's really going to differentiate you with your people. So, with that being said, that is the end of this episode. I would challenge you to when you write your next email or social media post, ask yourself, how can you make this even more specific so that it resonates more with your ideal clients? Thank you so much for listening, and until next time. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred listening platform. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe for weekly episodes about how to make money and work with the dreamiest of clients without having to get dressed in the morning. Make sure to check out the show notes down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.